On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, breaking news: the Avs have signed Shaggy Von Doon and myself to play defense for this team. How why not? They're signing everyone. Where are they going to fit all these guys? Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. And make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, LockedOnAvalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And make sure you're subscribed to our subtext link. That's in the show notes below. And when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, where we get your opinion on everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. All right, so we're going to do our kind of expectations. If there's any improvements, we did Nathan McKinnon on Monday. We'll move over to Mikko Rantanen today and kind of predict a over-under for him in regards to his points, goals, and assists. But where we're going to start today is another defensive signing, kind of like we tease. No, it is not Shaggy and myself, although that would be that. I mean,
it would not be in the best interest for the Avalanche. I can tell you that right now.
They'd save a lot of money, I can tell you that. But they did. Yeah, they went out and signed now former Calgary Flame, Oliver Kylington. Yes, that's how you pronounce his name, is Kylington, even though it looks nothing like, those hockey names. Yeah. So he, another defender for a very good price. He was a guy that I thought they might go after last year. They went up and ended up getting Sean Walker instead. But he fits the mold of what the Avalanche like to do. So let's start there. Your just thoughts on bringing him in. And then we'll get into the where's all these guys fit, and then the cap stuff, which is still you're wondering about this. So overall thoughts.
The deal itself, 1 for 1.05. Perfect. Beautiful. Well, again, we'll get to the money thing in a minute, but yeah, sounds great. Tons of upside. He did miss 22-23 the season. He took the year off for just to address his mental health. And hey, stick taps to that, buddy. That's a big deal. And he came back last year. Not a bad little year. And we talk about the Avalanche effect all the time. And I'm curious what he will look like in an Avalanche system. I think that will be a perfect fit. But where is he going to fit is the question.
That is the question. Up until now, I mean, we have gone from Sam Malinsky down to Brandstrom, now to Kylington, and obviously DeHaan is there. So, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, first of all, for him, signing him, I really like this guy. And you mentioned, him. I root for guys like that.
Yeah.
You mentioned, that he was out. He had a really good season in 21-22, and then decided to take the entire year off to, like you said, address his mental health problems. Was up for the Bill Masterton Award because of that, because he came back and, that's kind of where that award goes to guys like that. I don't think he won it, but, it's one of those awards where if you're a finalist, you're happy with that.
Yeah.
All three of who are up for that every year are deserving for it. But I just, in the world I'm in, you root for guys like that. So again, I thought this was someone they could go after last year. They didn't, but I like what he does, man. So he's got, I think he's 6 foot, about mid 180s. So that's within the realm of what the Avalanche like to have on their defensive side. And boy, can he skate. I think people are really going to like watching him skate, because he's that just effortless, silky smooth skater, and is really good at getting zone exits, really good at advancing the puck. So that's what the Avalanche want in their defenseman. I know people out there that are just saying he doesn't have the size and he's not the physical guy. Yeah, if you haven't accepted that that's what the Avalanche are not going to go after, you never will. And if you don't like it, I get it. But this guy fits the mold of what the Avalanche like in their defenseman. I really like his game.
And he's got 92 points in 191 AHL games. And when this deal was signed, this is coming not too far after Brad Hunt is going to Hershey. And you kind of wonder, like, he is a admirable replacement for Brad Hunt and what he provided in what was, in Loveland, which the Colorado Eagles. Like, he could give you the same. But he could skate with much more precision than what Brad Hunt can give you. So if he's spending time up in Denver or if he's down in the AHL, he's really good in the AHL. And this might be a motor to improve those around him and push fellow defenders or forwards up, or be a serviceable 1-for-1. Hey, guess what? Injuries happen to the Avalanche all year long. It's just one of those things. And if it's you see that name called up, you feel good about this replacement. There's not a lot of question marks.
I don't feel like he is an AHL guy. I think he is, and it's not just like, he's the most recent guy they signed, so that's where like your excitement goes is to the most recent guy. I think he fits best with the guys that they have between him and Malinsky. I like, we'll get to Malinsky in a second, but for Kylington, like I just feel like it's, you mentioned it. Injuries are a problem. Calvin DeHaan injuries are a problem. So it's like, if he can stay healthy, then fine. They don't have to worry about that. But I think what the Avalanche went through last year, pretty much all season long, and especially in the playoffs with defense, I think they clearly are loading up on that position to have options and to cycle these guys through. One could be a seventh defenseman. You're up with the roster and you move guys in and out, however you want to move guys in and out. We know that Jared Bednar does that on the offensive side. He hasn't really had to do that on the defensive side, but they are positioned to now do that and figure out what works best. And I think to start, I think you're looking at DeHaan and Kylington, and that's not this, like you said, all these other guys are likely, the way that things have gone for the Avalanche the past number of years, going to get opportunities as well. So why not load up on that position to have guys that you're comfortable doing it and not just have to constantly dip into the AHL and say, I hope this guy can hold us over while so-and-so is injured and comes back. You don't really have that problem right now.
And this is no knock on the guy, but I believe last year, I think they got kind of sour on the Caleb Jones experiment, because when they called him up, it was like putting a donut when you needed a spare tire. Every other defensive call-up was a spare tire. Like, it fit that Avalanche system, but there was a clear deficiency in what Caleb Jones can bring you, and you felt it. And it was just like, let's just get through this game. If we could just make it through, hopefully whoever's injured, that Caleb's taking a spot, will be back. I feel like the Avs are making sure they don't have another one of those. If we call them up, they don't have to adapt to who we call up. Who we call up can adapt to what we're doing. And I feel like they're trying to fix that, because that was a clear problem last year.
Yeah, and for the Sam Malinsky crowd, we that's kind of, before on any of these signings, we were thinking like that's where the Avalanche are going to go. Limited time last year, but looked good. And you thought they were just kind of going to move in that direction and just give him the keys to a third pairing and let him learn on the job. You can see the Avalanche aren't going to do that. And that's not to say he's not going to get time, but they are not going to throw the eggs in that basket. And just, if it doesn't go well, we didn't have a backup plan.
Yeah.
So it's like you're like, he's still getting acclimated to life in the NHL because he hasn't been there a lot. So I kind of understand and kind of respect how the Avalanche are doing this. Is he still the future for them? Sure. But I don't think they want to just rely on him and just hope it works out when you can go get guy, at least for Schilling, maybe not Brandstrom so much because he just hasn't worked out. Brandstrom's more like we hope this is a Jonathan Drouin situation.
Yeah. So
you kind of put Brandstrom and Malinsky in the same boat of like, they could work out, where Kylington, I feel, is like they're really confident, or I shouldn't say they, I am very confident that he will be your third pairing guy on day one, and then ease the other guys in. Why throw Malinsky in just full bore right now when you don't really know? And look, I like how he looked last year too, but how many of those guys that came in the way that he came in pan out? I'm not trying to say that he won't, but the odds are against anybody in his position to be the everyday player. And who was the one that we traded to San Jose just in the offseason? He was on Minnesota. I can't remember. Like I'm blanking on it. I can't think of his name.
No, but
like he was like, one of the MVPs of college, and you got him undrafted, and then now he's not there anymore. You gave him multiple opportunities and he couldn't make it work. So I'm just saying the Avalanche don't want to go through that again with Malinsky, and here we are. They're just loading up on the position.
And what it feels like, it gives the Avalanche possibilities to adapt to how the season's going. Like they have no problem when it comes to the forwards for handling the situation. You know what you got. I can't remember the last time the Avs had this many options on defense. You have your veteran in DeHaan. You have Brandstrom as your Drouin project. And then you get these cheap contracts that you can plug in there, and they provide so much different looks and adaptability for what the defense can do. And if you see something's lacking, you're not just relying on, oh, I hope he could fit this system. Oh, he can't. Well, let's see who else. That's kind of been the MO for the Avs the past couple of years, is let's adapt to who we call up. But the Avs have a lot more avenues they can go and make this work in a lot more ways than I really thought with this cap crunch, that the Avs could handle the defense this year. And it makes me, honestly, just this simple little move makes me very confident in what the Avalanche will look like defensively this year, all year long, where I really have no worries going into this year defensively.
Ben Myers is who I was trying to think of. Yeah. So like with I agree with you. I think like with Malinsky, you were hoping if he was going to be in that position, you were hoping that he was going to make that step. Brandstrom, you're kind of hoping he turned his career around again, like Drouin did with the Avalanche. I don't know, man. I just feel like Kylington is puts that to bed, and that's your third pairing, and the other two we'll reel you in when we can and swap you in when we can and ease you in that way.
And it keeps all doors open. If one doesn't work, you could still make everything else work. Like you're not falling flat on one decision. You have multiple ways you can make Malinsky rise, or your defense just get you through a stretch.
And there is that cap issue, which I'm still sitting back just like, how are we going to do it? Something else has got to be here. They got to have another move
42 and
under
49.
their belt. I don't know. So this is nice. I like these signings. I'm okay with, but you still have that thing in the back of your head. It was like, well, there's got to be one big thing that clears all this up for what and who and when.
This will make the defensive fans of the Avalanche very happy if you're watching dominoes falling.
I don't know, man. This is crazy. So, all right, let's get our first break in, and then we come back. We'll discuss Mikko Rantanen and any improvements or expectations that we have for him this season. So we'll do that right after this. All right, let's hear from Indeed, because we are driven by the search for better. And when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Because if you need to hire, of course that you need Indeed. It's your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employees Talent fast. And listeners of Locked On Avalanche will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/locked on. So just go to Indeed.com/locked on right now and support Locked On Avalanche by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. And if you need to hire, you need Indeed.
Redo your ad.
All right. So Mikko Rantanen, obviously one of the best players on the Avalanche. And it's going to be an interesting season for Mikko because what's going to happen with this contract? Is it going to happen before the season starts? Is it going to happen at some point during the season? Or do they let the entire season go? Which I think is, I don't think that will happen, and revisit this at the end of the season. I think all three of those play a role into what we expect from Mikko Rantanen. I hate to say it, but we've said it before. Contract years just bring out the best in guys. So we'll get to his numbers as far as what we think over under is, which this will play a role. But what are any expectations or improvements you're expecting from Mikko from last year to this year?
Okay, everybody remembers, like, you hear the name Mikko Rantanen, and everybody's first reaction is sigh, roll your eyes. You remember the Dallas series, and everybody's, is he injured? Why is he coasting? What's going on with Mikko Rantanen? You don't, like, head scratching. It's weird. Still nothing. No explanation on what was going on. But we are talking Monday about Nathan MacKinnon and possibly reaching 60 goals. And I don't know if they could do it. Mikko Rantanen had 62 last year. He had 62 goals. The past 3 years, he's had over 50 goals. And Nathan MacKinnon has been playing out of his mind. And the problem with Mikko Rantanen is he plays with Nathan MacKinnon because a lot of his accolades get forgotten. With Cale Makar and Nathan MacKinnon and what they do on night in, night out basis, Mikko just does this naturally. And you kind of forget it. And you take it for granted. And when you talk about improving, what more does, like, he's putting up 100 points, easy, effortless, like rumbling, bumbling, stumbling into 100 points. And with this contract, like, what if it gets signed before the season or not, he's going to be playing on another level because that's got to bother him. The chirping about his performance in that Dallas series, he's going to be playing on fire.
The only thing I want to correct you on is he didn't have 62 goals last year. He had 62 assists.
62 assists. But I'm talking like his production it gets forgotten and underrated and underplayed so many times that we talk about it all the time when we do the show. Is we only have 30 minutes to talk about an Avalanche game post game. And Mikko kind of gets forgotten about. It's Nathan MacKinnon did this, Cale Makar does this, and then it's a lot of time last year it was Georgiev and net, and then that's it. But Mikko gets out there, he flirts with hat tricks. His production, like, it's one of the most underrated things in hockey, how he sets up plays in the boards, and he's all aggressive on the forecheck. He gets kind of taken for granted. And then when everything's going wrong, he's usually one of the first people you go to, especially in that Dallas series, because he's coasting. And he's always, he cleaned up the penalties last year, where it was a problem a year before, and that cup run where it was just his temper was out of control. He
did that a couple times last year, though.
But
he did
to where it was alarming levels to where even Bednar had to make comments on it and kind of reel him in a little bit. He's calmed that down. You could see he's making adjustments when they need to be made. It doesn't become a terrible habit. He makes the adjustments. He does what he's supposed to do. And he is, if Nathan MacKinnon was, I don't know, if he was not on this team, Mikko Rantanen would have that limelight. Like, they are the same player, but Nathan MacKinnon just does it flashier.
And that right there is why I wouldn't be sold on that. If Nathan MacKinnon wasn't here, Mikko Rantanen would be getting like all of the accolades. He'd be getting some, but because he doesn't do it in this flashy manner, he's almost like the Eli Manning of hockey. You remember that was the knock on Eli Manning, was this ho-hum attitude. And when guys have that, I think the misconception is they're not putting in effort and they're just relying on their skill, and their skill is going to win the day, and he'll get his goals and he'll get his assists and he'll get his points, and he doesn't have to put in much effort. Nothing could be further from the truth. Like he goes about things differently. And when you have that dynamic between Nathan MacKinnon, who you just look at and you feel like he's putting in 110%, and Mikko does it the other way, just kind of like this just silky smooth way about him. When it's good, he's the greatest thing on ice. And when he struggles a little bit, or if he goes a few games without scoring a goal, or he's not as, he just hits a little bit of a rut, like every single player in the league does, because of the way he plays the game, people will attack his effort. I think that's just the optics of it. But I don't think the only thing I really have, I don't have a lot here for Mikko Rantanen and what he would need to quote unquote improve on. The only thing I would like to see different is, we kind of said the same thing with Nathan MacKinnon, is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Take over. Like we were waiting for something to be wrong with him injury wise, and we never got word on that. So I'm going to have to say nothing has happened, and he just got shut down. He's too good for that to happen. And that top line needed to be that top line, mainly MacKinnon and Makar, or MacKinnon and Mikko, to not continue to just struggle and try to find ways to score. They're too good for that. So that's really what I would love to see him do. Same thing with Nathan MacKinnon, is just if you're hitting a rut and the team is hitting a rut, two of them need to be, and throw Cale Makar in there as well, need to be the guys to, have their skill cream rises to the top and take over games. That, and you touched on it, the silly penalties. He had some of those last year. So cut down on that too. And I'm done. And I don't need anything else from Mikko Rantanen. I'll just do what you normally do, because he's one of the top players in the league, and he gets forgotten because there's so many guys who do it flashier than him, and that's kind of that's what sells a highlight.
And that goes back to what we were talking about Monday when it comes to that stepping up. And it's what we were mentioning when we were talking about Nathan MacKinnon. Like, this has to be the year Nathan MacKinnon says, "Hey, it's on me," because I feel like Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko both have this like reverence for Gabe Landeskog, where this was his, like, he was the captain, this was his step up, and he facilitates, and they're scared to make that next step up, because then they feel like, see, he's trying to make that step up to be the leader, the captain, and they both are doing that, like, you going, and they both keep waiting, and then you look up and there's 4 minutes to go in the third period. So if Nate just says, "This is on me, you back me up," and they take those roles and just call that out loud, I feel like both of them will both rise with that pecking order.
One thing I want to see more of is that cross ice pass on the power play between the two of them. Even if it's, I'm not saying force it.
Yeah.
I'm saying like kind of force it, because it's lethal. It goes either way. And even if it gets intercepted, I would sacrifice one that gets knocked away, and you have to, go retrieve the puck and come back in, because you made the defense aware that we're willing to do this, and it just opens up other things. If you're not doing that, the defense knows you're not going to do it, and you've essentially kind of just taken it away yourself. So it's like the play option in football. You fake it and they don't know, but if you don't run, they're not going to bite on that handoff. So like, you have to sacrifice maybe one for it to be there for the rest of the game. I felt like they got away from that so much as the season went on, and just tried to be the perfect power play. And you saw the numbers drop as the season went on. They started off the year smoking hot on the power play, and things dropped because I think they were just trying to do the cuteness thing.
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares how cute it is? The puck's in the back of the net, still one on the board. You don't get X bonus points for it being pretty. So
that's what takes it from cute to beautiful in the back of the net.
Yeah. All right. Over under. What do we think for Mikko Rantanen in terms of goals, assists, and points? We'll do that after this. All right. Hopefully you don't freeze up on this one. We got Game Time. It's an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch with killer last minute deals, all in pricing views from your seat and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. What do we love about the Game Time experience? They have the priority last minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. Flash deals, zone deals, all in pricing, no surprise fees at checkout. You have your seat view, the lowest price guarantee, or they will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, before we get to the over under, I just had I think we have one comment from Vargar. So he said, you guys spoke about Nate getting 60 goals, but puts if in capitals, Mikko goes into this year without an extension, he's going to explode. Mikko is going to get 60 goals and 70 assists for 130 points. He's going to lead the Avs in points in the regular season and finish second to Makar in points come playoff time. I honestly think he's going to do a Kadri. If he gets his extension, he'll probably effing do a 40 goal, 60 assist, ho-hum, 100 point season. So this is kind of what I brought up. If there's no contract extension, the numbers might be different than if there is. And I hate to say that, but that's just the reality of sports and athletes looking for a contract. So this might be a little bit tough to do. So I guess, I mean, if you want to give out two answers, feel free. But as far as over under for Mikko Rantanen, last year, he did 80 games, so only missed 2 games, and 42 goals. Over or under for 42 goals?
I'm going to say over. I think he's going to hit about like 45, 48, somewhere right in there.
I think the year before he had 55.
Mm-hmm.
So he's capable, right? I mean, come on now. I don't. If you're saying Mikko Rantanen is going to be under 42, is he really? Is he going to be like just touching 40? No, he's much, much better than that. I think that's one that no matter what, whether he's got the contract going into the season or if he doesn't, he's going over that.
Yeah.
Vargar might be onto something where, if there's no contract, maybe he does go off for 60. If there is a contract, I think he can still get 50. I think he can do that. Yeah.
Especially if it becomes a thing between him and Nate and they compete all year long, goal for goal.
That would be cool. That like a Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire thing, but on the same team.
Yeah, and they just point to each other like, that was mine, your turn.
Right.
And they keep challenging each other.
Right.
That's what I want.
Right. That'd be cool. Assist. There's a 62 he had last year. So that's a good amount of assists for him. That's his career high. He's always close to the 50s. Going back to the second year that he was in the league, he's had 18, then 55, 56. I won't do the COVID year. 56, 50, 62. So he's always in the 50s. But he can get over 62.
Yeah. Yes, but this is going to be the top line, and especially with Cale Makar, which we'll get to, and what he could do this year. There's going to be a lot of assists on this line, whether it's Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko, or Cale. This line is going to be the heart and soul of this team. And I feel like it might have been 62 as his best last year. This feels like 65. Mm-hmm.
And again, being on that top line for the power play, that helps. So 104 was his total. was 1 point shy of tying his career high, which came the year before, of 105. You got to feel like if he was able to play those 2 games that he missed last year, he would have beaten that 105. But does he set a new career high this year?
Yes. Yeah, 110.
I think it'd be, a very simple, not simple, but in terms of math, 50 goals, 60 assists, 110 points. Why not? I think that is very much in the realm of possibility for Mikko Rantanen to do that. And I'm on board with Vargar. And if he does not have that contract, maybe add another 10 points to that.
Yeah.
Where he gets
right there with you.
120.
Yep.
So,
yeah. If I was Chris McFarland, I purposely don't give him the contract. I let him. I let him go.
You are playing with fire, or don't do it with the intention of signing it some point during the season. Don't let it go to the end of the year.
Like a handshake deal. Like, hey,
yeah,
we'll talk at the All-Star break, but go have fun and make you some money.
Yeah,
and really get that going. I feel like that'd be fun.
Oh man, that is Russian roulette right there. But Katie very simply said, looking forward to Mikko's 3rd consecutive 100-point season. She didn't say what we were just talking about, if it's going to be a career high or not. But with, there's no reason to think that he can't get the century mark again and surpass it. So.
And he's got another year of confidence in Drew Wynn. So that has to help too. It's not the question mark of, I wonder if he's going to raise to this level, if he's something I can be confident in. No, he's a valuable asset on his line again. So
very true. All right, that will wrap it up for today. So comment away in the comment section on what you think Mikko needs to do, if there's anything, or his over-under, and the Kylington signing as well. That will wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. And for Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys Friday.